Year 2 for the Dolphins. Was it more of the same, or are they a step closer to finals? Bennett goes and a new era begins for the competition's youngest team. This is our season review for the Dolphins. All right, and to break all of this down for me, our zero tackle expert analyst, Darren Parkin. Darren, the new kids on the block, 2 more wins than 2023. They went from 9 to 11. What do we reckon?
Yeah, a bit of a carbon copy on paper. I mean, obviously a little bit better offensively, a little bit better defensively, but a tale of two halves where they've started both their seasons quite well, faded a little bit late. There were a lot of mitigating factors this season in terms of Wayne Bennett and a few other things that we'll touch on, but yeah, I think lack of depth was probably an issue compounded by injuries. They don't bat as deep as some other sides in the comp, as we'll touch on a little bit. But on the numbers, they did improve in some significant areas. Huge drop in missed tackles. They were averaging 36 a game last season, just under 27 this year. And they averaged the fewest errors of any side in the competition at 8.8. 2 points better per game offensively, 2 points better per game defensively, and they can certainly score, ranked 7th for scoring across the season. So, yeah, there's a good little blueprint now for Christian Wolf to work with in year 3.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move over to the 2024 pass mark. All right, so heading into 2024, you probably would have given them a chance to play finals, but where would you rate their pass mark heading into 2024?
Yeah, at the start of the year, they brought in Farnworth and Flegler from the Broncos, who had just played in the grand final, Jake Averillo from the Bulldogs. So the belief was that the squad had added a bit more quality to the year before, where they were quite promising, but the other consensus was that maybe they were a marquee player short of a genuine finals tilt. I know Gordon Teller said that at the start of the year, and it ended up being correct. I mean, if you look at last year, they won their first 3 and they sat 5th after round 10, and their depth ultimately caught up with them, and it was probably exactly the same thing really this season. So I reckon if you offered Dolphin fans right at the start of the year in February and you said they'll finish 10th, they would have thought it's probably about right. But if you told them at round 15 that they'd finish 10th, they would have been very disappointed when they were top 4. So I'm going to say yes, it's a pass based on some mitigating factors mentioned above. Ultimately, they probably get a tick.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So let's look at what went wrong for the Dolphins in 2024 with the lowlights. Well, you touched on it just before. So in terms of lowlights for the Dolphins this year, your depth is exposed by injuries.
It is, yeah. I mean, obviously you need to be able to have that level of coverage. Origin can hurt a lot of sides in terms of stretching their resources, and they felt the pinch during that period. And look, obviously the decision of Wayne Bennett was well documented to defect back to the Bunnies. That wouldn't have helped, but there was a lot of speculation that in the back half of the year as the Dolphins' form slid, that he subconsciously had turned his attention to the Rabbitohs rebuild before the season had ended. Now, he's obviously denied that, and you know, no reason to necessarily go against that, but it's no coincidence if you look at the decline in the Dolphins' form and the timing of that announcement, that there might perhaps be a little bit in that. The fixture wasn't great for them in terms of difficulty ranking. They'd probably be top 4 in hardest fixture, and Jesse Bromwich retiring leaves a bit of a hole for them too. Yep.
Not ideal, especially for a brand new side. So let's look at the highlights now. All right, so kicking off the highlights for the Dolphins in 2024, that massive win over the Broncos, probably the first one.
Yeah, it's a rivalry that we've only had probably 3 or 4 matchups in that rivalry's history, but it's already growing some significant legs. And look, the Broncos season was probably cooked when they met late in the year, but it was definitely cooked after that, a 40-6 belting late in the season. So to kill the season of your arch rival, a big brother, is a very significant thing for them. And probably just their offensive weapons that really did wow the crowd. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Jack Bostock, Jermaine Asako, Jake Averillo, who we mentioned at the start, all scoring double figures in the try categories. I think it was 15, 14, 12 and 11 from those 4 players we mentioned. So they're a free-flowing, fun side, and that's definitely a strength of theirs. They've got the offense that can challenge some of those really good defensive units in the finals.
Yep. And in that vein, we'll keep rolling on with our most improved. All right, so our most improved for the Dolphins this year, Max Plath.
Yeah, he won the Arthur Beetson medal over the last few weeks as well. It was his first full season at the top grade and certainly underlining his credentials. Played some superb football throughout the course of the season. They lost Tom Gilbert early in the year, one of their new signings, due to some injuries, so he had to step up and take his chance to become a full-time starter in that line. He was flexible, lock, hooker, number of different roles within that side, and became probably their most important player, and as was evidenced on awards night, probably their best player as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right, moving over to the headlines. If there's one thing we know at Zero Tackle, it is headlines. And to be fair, the Dolphins were pretty quiet compared to some other teams this year, but Bennett was mostly where they fit into this category.
Yeah, a lack of controversy, so to speak, for them, and you know, the Bennett thing, not really their fault. But I guess that was probably the speculation. We see this all the time where coaches and players announce that they're going somewhere else for the following season, but it doesn't always appear to impact. It certainly appeared to impact the Dolphins this time around in terms of where their heads were at and focus, and only individuals will know whether it did or didn't. But the outside perception was that it certainly did, and obviously a big name coach like that who's done a job for them. He got them going. They've been ultra competitive against expectation. The belief was last year they'd barely win a game. So certainly he gets a tick for what he's got them to do. But I reckon the mode of that departure certainly didn't help them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at that form line, there is a tiny bit of correlation, but we'll leave that to the individual players. So let's move ahead now to 2025 and their pass mark. All right, for the Dolphins in 2025, I think it's pretty simple. I think they just should be playing finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, you would then start to become, or you'd lose that tag of being everyone's second favourite team and the underdog. I mean, that's a nice fluffy tag, but I think ultimately you don't want it. You don't want to be that, the cuddly second favourite. Oh, we hope they do well. You want people to start disliking you and start, building those sorts of rivalries. And I think that's the next step for them. Christian Wolf comes across, well-established Super League coach, won multiple titles over there. His winning percentage was just under 80%, I think. So we have seen him in the NRL before. He was interim coach at the Knights when Nathan Brown stood down a few years ago. I think he coached a couple of games that season. But they've got a really good base. They can just keep chipping away at that depth. I would think that they've got the capabilities of playing finals, and that should be the bar they set.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, that wraps it up for the season review for the Dolphins. Thanks, Darren. Pretty simple one for the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah, I like what they're doing, and they should just keep getting better and better.
Yep, absolutely. So let us know in the comments if you think the Dolphins are poised for finals in year 3. Remember to like and subscribe. We'll be doing season reviews for every team, starting from the bottom of the ladder up, and we'll also be looking ahead to 2026 and who your team should be targeting. So, again, remember to like and subscribe and catch all the latest NRL news at zerotackle.com.